Up and down the halls of hallowed academia, you may have heard of this very profound and famous existentialist French philosopher. All the learned people know him. Albert Camus. Albert Camus, a very famous guy, really great writer. I don't know much about them, but everybody knows that the main takeaway from his work is that he wrote this, short novel about Sisyphus, about the myth of this guy who was doomed to forever roll a big rock all the way up onto the top of a hill and had to let it fall back down and start all over again. Albert Camus said, imagine that guy happy, and like we all snap our fingers and sip our tea, and we're very proud of him for saying that. But there's another French thinker, an earlier, arguably better French thinker named François Rabelais, who also addressed this same myth of Sisyphus rolling the rock up the hill and letting it fall back down through the lens of this classical philosophical character of Diogenes. And he did it in a way that I think is orders of magnitude more uplifting, more interesting, funnier, and a lot less depressing overall. So we're going to get into the quotation from Gargantua and Pantagruel. If you agree with me that the entire conversation around Sisyphus and Western culture should shift from being a cliche of Camus to maybe we can find a cliche in Rabelais, like the video, subscribe, and share it with whoever's in charge, maybe somebody in the publishing industry, of mandating the cliches for the literary types. All right, without further ado, into the John M. Cohen translation of this quotation from the author's prologue in Book 3 of Gargantua and Pantagruel by François Rabelais. If you have never heard of Diogenes, I will tell you a story about him presently, while we start on the wine. Drink up, my boys, and I'll start my argument. Now listen to me, but first let me inform you, in case in your simplicity you are deceived like so many infidels, that in his day he was a rare philosopher, and the most cheerful among 1,000. If he had certain imperfections, so have you, so have we all, for none but God is perfect. Nevertheless, Alexander the Great, though he had Aristotle for his tutor and servant, held him in such esteem that if he had not been Alexander, he would have wished to be Diogenes of Sinope. When Philip, king of Macedon, undertook the siege and destruction of Corinth, the Corinthians were warned by their spies of the grand array and the huge forces that he was leading against them. So they were all, not unreasonably, afraid and neglected no precaution. Each man scrupulously performed his tasks and duties in the hopes of beating off this hostile attack and protecting the city. Some brought movables, cattle, corn, wine, fruit, victuals, and all necessary supplies out of the fields and into the fortress. Others repaired the walls, erected bastions, squared ravelins, dug ditches, repaired countermines, improvised parapets, constructed platforms, emptied gun pits, repaired outer ramparts, built lookout points, redug counterscarps, cemented curtain walls, set up sniping posts, sloped parapets, mortarized barbicans, strengthened battlements, fitted fresh chains to the portcullises, both Greek and Saracenic, posted sentries, and sent out patrols. Everyone was on the watch, everyone took his part, some polished corselets, varnished back and breastplates, cleaned housings, front stalls, harborgens, jackets of mail, sallets, beavers, knights' headpieces, double pikes, closed helmets, morions, coats of mail, chain armor, arm pieces, thigh pieces, gussets, gorgets, arm and thigh plates, breast pieces, scale armor, hauberks, shields, bucklers, leggings, greaves, foot pieces, and spurs. Others prepared bows, slings, arbalèsts, slingshots, catapults, fire arrows, grenades, firepots, balls, and brands, ballistas, scorpions, and other hideous engines of war, calculated to destroy the enemy's siege towers. They sharpened scythes, pikes, claws, halberds, brown bills, long hooks, lances, Turkish spears, tridents, partisans, clubs, battle axes, darts, dartlets, javelins, great javelins, and boar spears. They put an edge on the scimitars, cutlasses, curved blades, spears, sabers, short swords, tucks, stilettos, stabbing swords, daggers, mandusians, poniards, knives, blades, and barbs. Every man practiced with his weapon. Every man scoured the rust from his hanger. Even the oldest and most prudish of the women furbished up her harness, for, as you know, Corinthian women of old had plenty of courage in battle. Now, when Diogenes saw all of them so warm at work, and himself assigned to no duties by the magistrates, he watched their behavior for some days in complete silence. Then, as if spurred by the martial spirit, he slung his cloak across his chest, rolled his sleeves up to his elbows, trussed himself up like an eagle-gatherer, handed his wallet to an old comrade of his, together with his books and double-sided scrolls, and made off out of the town towards Caeranium, which is a jutting hill not far from Corinth, and a fine lookout place. Thither he rolled his earthen tub, which served him as a shelter against the inclemencies of the weather, and putting out all his strength in a tremendous outburst of spirits, he twirled it, whirled it, scrambled it, bungled it, frisked it, jumbled it, tumbled it, wheeled it, scratched it, smoked it, churned it, beat it, bumped it, banged it, battered it, upended it, tempered it, tapped it, stamped it, stomped it, unstopped it, shifted it, shook it, thumped it, pummeled it, waggled it, hurled it, teased it, staggered it, tottered it, raised it, rinsed it, nailed it, tethered it, veered it, steered it, snuffed it, bustled it, lifted it, soiled it, tackled it, shackled it, mocked it, spiked it, patted it, paladed it, fondled it, fumbled it, dashed it, splashed it, crashed it, slashed it, planned it, charmed it, armed it, speared it, harnessed it, pennoned it, caparisoned it, rolled it from top to bottom of the hill, and precipitated it from the Caeranium. Then he rolled it uphill again, as Sisyphus did his stone, so violently that he almost knocked the bottom out of it. At the sight of this activity, one of his friends asked him what moved him thus to torment his body, his spirit, and his tub, to which the philosopher replied, that not being entrusted with any other duties by the state, he was giving his tub a thrashing in order not to seem the one lazy idler among a people so feverishly busy. Okay, then Rabelais proceeds to kind of mirror this little story with another very intricate recollection with a lot of classical references of kind of the same story again, but mirrored in the real world, where he's saying that in his own time, the French are always preparing for battle, and they're always, killing bandits or whatever they're doing, fending off some invasion. And since he has, for whatever reason, been deemed too frail, I think, to join the military, he's saying that he will undertake, to write this hilarious, silly, often sometimes meandering book while drinking wine. That's a very central theme of the novel. As his, as he puts it, diegenical contributions to the French war effort. So here's a paragraph where he elaborates that. For the benefit of the warriors, I am about to rebroach my cask, the contents of which you would have sufficiently appreciated from my 2 earlier volumes if they had not been adulterated and spoiled by dishonest printers. I am about to draw for them, out of the product of our after-dinner entertainments, a gallant 3rd draft, and later a jovial 4th, of Pantagrueline sentences. You have license from me to call them diegenical, of pertaining to Diogenes. So, though I cannot be their companion in arms, they shall have me as their faithful steward, cheering them on to the best of my small powers on their return from the fray. And he goes on and on for like a couple more pages after that. So what's happened in the story, if you couldn't pick it up through all the, he went on for the bulk of a paragraph, pummeled it, stamped it, stomped it, etc. Basically what happened is that Diogenes observed the busyness of the Corinthians, and he took it upon himself not to be seen as lazy. And so he, mirroring the myth of Sisyphus, rolls his tub to the top of this hill, which is called Coranium. I wonder if there is like a deeper meaning to that, because is that has to do with thinking in circles or something? I don't know. But he rolls his tub down the hill and pushes it back up again to contribute to the war effort. And so right away, there's obviously a much more playful and joyful tone to this utilization of the Sisyphus myth than the Camus rendition of it, at least as it's portrayed in this cliche. Imagine Sisyphus happy. I don't even think you have to begin to imagine Diogenes happy, because that's not even what's at stake. He's chosen to indulge in this seemingly redundant task. It seems in the parable here to almost mock the Corinthians for being so concerned about basically like their worldly tasks. But Rabelais takes it as his assertion that he's going to devote himself to his art, to writing what became one of the most famous novels in European history, Gargantua and Pantagruel, and insisting that this is beneficial, this is relevant to the community. Sometimes the question is raised, how can you possibly make art? How can you write during times of turmoil and times of strife? Shouldn't you be doing something more productive? I don't know of a single refutation of that concern from an artist that is more pointed, energetic, and joyful than this one. And I also think that this is very pertinent and relevant in our own time. Obviously, there's a number of difficult things going on in the world, and even outside of that, there is a hustle culture, a workaholic culture that insists you don't lie around being lazy, doing nothing. And so as artists, as writers, as whatever it might be, philosophers, members of the intelligentsia who can list the names of French writers like Rabelais and Camus, this passage is giving us permission to say, look, looking to the inspiration of the sarcastic philosopher Diogenes, if you say that art and storytelling is redundant, Diogenes will say the same for the busyness of day-to-day life, which, if you go to the more existential reading of the Sisyphus myth, is ultimately a cyclical and futile struggle anyway, which again, I guess in the 20th century tone of that myth, we wanted to say, wow, that's sad, it's a disillusionment, takes us away from the immediacy of having a purpose. Whereas here, it seems much more of a playful idea, and it gives us license to dictate the flavor of the direction of our lives. For Rabelais, well, I guess for Diogenes, he wanted to screw around with his tub, and for Rabelais, he wanted to tell this very vivid, joyful, fascinating, perplexing, epic novel. And the question I will leave you with is, what about you? If life is going to be a cyclical, confusing, unspecific mess whose direction and purpose is hard to pin down, what's it going to be? The withering military-industrial complex, or the beauty and majesty of art and storytelling? Thank you for watching. I got a couple other videos about François Rabelais if you want to learn a bit more about this novel before delving into it yourself, if you haven't already. I've got a main channel with essays, a Substack with poetry. Check out the links below. Patreon if you want to support my work. Thank you for sticking to the end, and I hope you have a wonderful day.